All right, everyone, let's get started. Again, my name is Art Aiello. I am Marketing Manager for PlateSmart Technologies, and I wanted to welcome you today to our webinar, Touchless Pay-by-Plate and Credit Safety Technology in a Post-Pandemic World, co-hosted by IPConfigure, one of our technology partners. I would like to begin by going over our agenda for today. We're going to begin by doing a brief overview of each company, PlateSmart and IPConfigure. Then we are going to jump into a discussion about touchless technology and why that is important in a post-COVID-19 world. After that, we will touch on a couple of use cases that are of particular interest and relevance with regard to touchless technology. One is with regard to fast food restaurants and other drive-through businesses, and how touchless technology can be applied using both PlateSmart and IPConfigure solutions. And then there will be a use case about grocery and retail curbside pickup, and how both PlateSmart and IPConfigure solutions can affect that as well. We will end with some product demonstrations, and then we will turn it over to a question and answer session, which brings me to one housekeeping item. You will notice with the Zoom meeting interface that there is a chat function. If you have a question at any time, please type it into the group chat. I will keep everybody attending muted for just the purposes of keeping us focused. But if you have questions, enter them into the chat, and then we will address those questions during the Q&A session at the end of our webinar. So having said that, I'd like to introduce our three presenters for today. The first is Kathleen Chigos. She is president of PlateSmart Technologies. She is responsible for sales and general management, as well as strategic direction for the company. Also joining us is Webb Wang, Chief Technology Officer for PlateSmart Technologies. He is responsible for all things technology and product related, providing leadership in the development of our products as well as our product roadmap. And then from our technology partner, IPConfigure, we are very glad to have Brad Stice, who is Vice President of Sales for IPConfigure. He is based out of IPConfigure's headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia. He heads up business development and strategic partnerships with technology partners like PlateSmart, as well as integrations of IPConfigure. What I'm going to do now is turn things over to my colleague, Kathleen Chigos, and Webb to begin kicking things off.
Thank you, Art. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you fine. Okay. We're good.
Okay. Well, first of all, we just hope everyone joining is safe and adjusting in today's new normal. And I'd like to personally thank everyone that has joined today's webinar. As Art mentioned, it's hosted by PlateSmart with our partner IPConfig. So today's webinar, we would like to address the touchless technology and some of the verticals that we all serve that are having to adjust and adhere to the climate in today's world. The touchless technology, which today we'll be discussing, is PlateSmart's AI-based ALPR vehicle recognition software solution, along with the integration into IPConfig's ORCID. And what we want to demonstrate today is how our technologies coupled together is going to assist the consumers, businesses, retail pickup lanes, and drive-through restaurants as they navigate through today's post-COVID-19. So what I want to touch is a little bit about who PlateSmart is and give a little bit of background on that. So PlateSmart was incorporated since 2004, and to date, PlateSmart is one of the longest AI-based ALPR vehicle recognition software solutions. which provides a lot of vehicle DNA to the end user. PlateSmart owns all of their technology. We do not license, we do not OEM our software. We develop and customize our software. Some of the products that PlateSmart, some of you are familiar with, some may not be, is we have several products coming down the pike. One that we currently have is our flagship today deployed product, which is Aries. And it is with our new improved AI and machine learning. Aries identifies not only the plate, but also the state jurisdiction, the vehicle make and color, along with actionable data as well as reporting capability to boot. Along with that, one of our products is powered by PlateSmart, which enables third-party solutions to accept license plate raw data, and it enables the solutions to build around the raw data with their enabling technologies. Towards the end of our fourth quarter, we will be deploying our officer safety product, which is going to be able to provide law enforcement to do large-scale fleet deployments. And the reason why they're going to be able to do the large-scale deployments is how we've developed the product as well as where the price point is. And this product is going to enable law enforcement to be safe, foremost, but also to have real-time information so that law enforcement can be proactive before being reactive. And then finally, wrapping up 2020 is going to be PlateSmart's 3.0, which is going to be packed with industry-requested analytics. And we will be sure to send out all of the attendees that are on this call updates as the products get ready for release, but we are looking at the end of Q4. We also have grown tremendously, not only in the States, but globally as well. In the last 2 years, we've seen the industry's demands for AI-based ALPR vehicle recognition solutions grow tremendously. Of course, it's still very prevalent for law enforcement, but what we're seeing is that all verticals, commercial, physical, citywide deployment, we are getting at least 5 calls a week, if not more, for LPR, just for citywide deployment. It seems to be getting extremely hot right now, and we have a solution that people are deploying. We just sent out a huge press release also showing that we actually took over a competitor's large, over 700 licenses for ALPR, along with 100 police agencies. I think right now the marketplace is now getting educated. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. They don't want to have to pay large astronomical yearly amounts to be able to get information that they're sharing to make other companies wealthy. They want to be able to start getting fusion centers and sharing information. And with PlateSmart and with IPConfigure, especially with the ORCID, we can solve that solution. Also, one of the positive things is, like I just mentioned, the customer owns their data. And what we're seeing right now is that the marketplace is demanding that. Again, the fees to contribute to a large database, people are waking up and saying, we no longer want to do that. This is our data. We should be able to share it among all agencies. And we fit the bill for that because we believe that a customer should own their data. We don't touch their data completely. One of our differentiators for PlateSmart is that being that we are software only, we can do integrations with third-party solutions. IPConfigure's ORCID, which we're going to show you later, of how that integration's taken place and the features of that, is a perfect example. And as we built our software, we knew where the market was going. And as we mentioned, this marketplace in the last 2 years is demanding for LPR, but it's also not just 3 or 4 lanes. It's becoming more enterprise level, whether it's corporate campuses wanting to tie into their database and be able to check in on other sites, whether it's a citywide deployment, whether it's mining or trunking companies, or for instance, rental car agencies too. We've got a large footprint in that. And what we're seeing is we've built a web hosting national database. So if there is a rental car agency in California and they want to track their asset and be able to know where that asset has gone, they have the ability to do that, as well as be able to see where that asset went to. If it went to Logan or if it went to Atlanta, they have the ability to do that. So we have developed our software so in anticipation that we are going to have enterprise projects that we are working on, and we are doing them and deploying them very successfully. As we talked about our Powered by PlateSmart product, this is a perfect example that it can integrate with third-party security solutions. We've done a lot of integrations with the visitor management. We've done ticketing, POS systems, which is going to tie into how we can go about helping the drive-through restaurants and pickup lanes. We also have integrated with access control and parking management. As we developed our software, we wanted to be different in the sense that there were other LPR companies out there. However, you had to purchase their very pricey, expensive hardware. Of course, today some of that pricing has come down, but the reliability of the hardware, because you're paying maybe a low cost, is you are getting low cost hardware and solutions that are breaking in the field, having to be replaced. So when we developed, it was very important for us to be able to work with virtually any IP surveillance camera. And to date, we can work on pretty much any IP surveillance camera, which assists with budgets also. When you're working with customers and they've got a budget and they have cameras that they maybe purchased 2 years ago, but yet they don't want to replace, this is where PlateSmart comes in perfectly, because we can work on their current infrastructure with their current hardware.
Now, if we can just turn it over to Brad to tell us a little bit about IPConfigure.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Art and Kathleen have said, my name is Brad Stice, and I am the Vice President of Sales with IPConfigure. For those of you who do not know who IPConfigure is, we are a VMS, video surveillance software manufacturer. Our global headquarters is out of Norfolk, Virginia, and we've been in business since about 2004. So IPConfigure, in this particular sense, we're somewhat unique in this industry, and similar to that of PlateSmart, as Kathleen just said, where we own all of our own intellectual property. We don't OEM any of our software from anyone. We build everything in-house. We are a US-based, better-known company. And we are pretty unique on quite a few things when it comes to the video side of the video platform itself. So for us, we are a completely browser-based technology, which does not require any client application that has to be installed. We are a cross-platform VMS, which means we do support any Windows installations as well as Linux. And really for us, as this industry and technology has changed, one of the things for us that's very important is doing integrations. As new analytics come out and new technology changes, for us as a video platform, we really want to make it very easy for IPConfigure to work with third parties, particularly like PlateSmart. Where we have customers asking for license plate recognition. Being able to add that onto our system is something that's very, very important. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So the idea behind us, as we've built out the technology, the idea is we are very simple and easy to use. So for us, being browser-based and not having a client to install makes the learning of the actual software very, very simple. We are reliable. Everything that we do in-house as we build the software code has unit tests. So therefore, every bit of the software that gets released has a unit test behind it to prove that it does work. It's very important. Secure, reliable, and affordable, also kind of the staples for IPConfigure. So from a security perspective on the VMS side, we do a number of different securities in terms of SSL encryption of the browser, but we were also the first company in the world to support something called SRTP, which is basically secure RTSP traffic. That's a big deal as well. And then the affordability piece is pretty interesting. From an IPConfigure perspective, when you talk about the video platform itself, we have a couple of different ways that we can kind of go to market. We can sell our software as a perpetual VMS license, similar to that like everybody else in the industry. We have a hybrid cloud offering, which is really important. And on this particular presentation today, I will show a hybrid cloud QSR customer running IPConfigure and PlateSmart. And then we also have a pure software as a service version. So for IPConfigure, we really can fit into customers' budgets depending on what kind of direction. They just want to buy the software outright, do a cloud version, or possibly even a software as a service version. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit.
Thanks very much, Brad. And if I can toss it back to Kathleen, let's talk a little bit about touchless technology.
Thank you. Well, as we all have experienced it personally, I can give an example. You know, it seems like all drive-through restaurants right now, and anywhere where there is a credit card involved, has put in some sort of solution so that customers don't have to feel like I'm giving you my credit card and I'm nervous about this. So it's on everybody's minds that, one, we want to do the social distancing still, but we don't want to have to touch anything for fear of what could happen. And we're seeing that, and basically what we're seeing with the fast food restaurants now too is, of course, during this COVID-19, we basically had no choice but to get on Instacart to order our groceries, or we could go through the drive-thrus. And that's what we want to talk about also, is one of it is the drive-thrus, and how with both IPConfig and PlateSmart, how we can take that out. We're also seeing too with the COVID-19 that all restaurants are pretty much closed. Even the drive-through restaurants are only keeping their drive-thrus open. It's also predicted too that since this event has occurred, that a lot of restaurants who never thought about drive-through are now actually putting the plans in place with their architects for new restaurants that are going to be popping up to be able to have a drive-through window. So we think that's really important. And with the license plate, with IPConfig's features, being able to capture that, we're going to be able to kind of take that credit card touching situation away, because of the fact that with the POS system and the integration, and with the car, and with the orders that they did prior, we'll have all that information. So the credit card will be stored securely. They'll be able to give good customer service because they know Mr. Smith in the Ford F-150 that has just pulled up came through last week. They'd be able to pop up his last order, ask him if this is something that he's interested again, and if it is, then he doesn't even have to take out a credit card. All he needs to do is get his meal and drive off. So it's going to be able to give a quick order process. They're no longer going to have to go into the restaurant. The restaurants will be able to process more cars, which equals more revenue. And again, just don't use this for restaurants. You can also see the opportunity in anything that has a drive-through, and you're going to give the credit card to. We're going to have the demographic features so they can have statistical data on that. So there's going to be available information to all chain restaurants. So if they want to see exactly if the main headquarters of, say, of a very large drive-through restaurant wants to check in on the rest of the restaurants and be able to see, in fact, if they're getting enough traffic in, what cars are coming on their property, is it 3 times a week? Marketing can get involved and be able to give a loyalty program, put that in place as well. So they'll be able to get their buying habits, they'll be able to make the customer feel safe, knowing that they don't have to take out the credit card. The employees don't have to touch anything of those restaurants or of those organizations, so we want to keep it totally touchless.
What I'd like to do now is turn it over to our CTO, Webb Wang, to talk a little bit about how this situation might actually work.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for attending this webinar. Kathleen mentioned earlier that right now we have 2 product offerings. One is called Aries, the other one's called Powered by PlaySmart. The Aries is a database-driven platform type of a solution that covers end-to-end security needs that's built upon ALPR technology. So it is an ideal solution for, say, citywide surveillance, for fixed type of camera installations where it could be a corporation or it could be a hospital, a university that need a solution, need a security solution that's based upon vehicle. And the second one is the Powered by PlaySmart, which is a solution that are more focusing on wrapping up the ALPR engine and be able to send out the vehicle understanding on a very simple industry compatible called web API call to whoever that wants to receive that information and use it for other business purposes. And that second solution is a perfect fit here for this touchless project. So as you see from this illustration here, the camera feeds gets captured by our software, which is the Powered by PlaySmart software, and we analyze the videos, and then we are able to, for the time being, extract 4 pieces of information. That is the vehicle make, vehicle color, and the license plate's state jurisdiction, and the license plate number itself. So those 4 pieces of information then gets put it on a web API call. We're going to send that to a POS system for a drive-through type of a business, or send it to a curbside pickup systems for the for the pickup experience. So that those systems will capture these information and will use that to identify their customers, whether they're returning customers, they're brand new customers, and then we'll drive further business decisions, whether to prompt them for their favorite menu or to upsell from that point on. And the entire process are being monitored by IPConfigure's ORCID from a activity, from transaction, all of those standpoint. They will be stamped and recorded in ORCID VMS and being viewed and managed in the VMS. So that's what we envision as a general process flow.
Brad, if I could ask you just to jump in if there's anything you would like to add before we move on.
Yeah, so I mean, in this particular type of world today, using APIs and having technologies that are both open and available via APIs makes this kind of use case and scenario very, very feasible to do. So, in terms of the integrations aspects, PlateSmart and IPConfigure, they have used our API in order to do a lot of the integration side, and that's very important for, again, use cases like this.
Okay, Kathleen and Webb, if you could jump into discussing just the retail case for touchless technology.
Absolutely. So if you think about the retailers that are out there to date that have now incorporated pickups at certain lanes, with the cameras, that will be out there in each lane, it could notify in real time inside the store that Mr. Smith has now pulled up and to prepare his order. So they don't have to go out, look for the vehicle. Everything is pretty much seamless and touchless. And they'll be able to get their orders in real time. We have a very large home store in the Midwest, and they have over about 400 stores deployed. They were having issues with people that would go ahead, purchase their order, and they would go to where they needed to pick it up. But unfortunately, people pick up other people's orders. So they get home and, you know, the lumber wasn't what they wanted or the tile wasn't what they were expected. So we have helped them with integrating into their POS system, and they have the car, the vehicle, the owner, their credit card, and their order number. So here they are no longer losing money, and people are getting good customer experience because they're getting the correct order. Also with the pickup lanes at the retail stores too, it's no more looking for the parking lot, it's improved curbside pickup, and there's no app required, all done, and it's in real time, and people can move quickly. Because we all know that if people are staying and waiting and others are backing up, there's a frustration level that's taking place there. This actually speeds up and automizes for the store and also to give great customer experience.
Yeah, I'll cover this one. So this is a slight variation from the last one, but it's very similar from an operational flow standpoint. As you see that, you know, the camera continued, its video continues to be captured and analyzed by our software. There's 4 pieces of data points being extracted. And in this case, rather than that web API call made it to a POS system, this time could be captured by the curbside pickup system to help ID the customers and help tell the POS systems, tell the pickup systems and the employees where to greet the customers and with the merchandise they're here to pick up. So that's just a slight variation from how we integrate with the other system, but the general workflow stays as is, and the whole transaction being monitored and being recorded by OrCID.
Brad, anything you'd like to add before we move on?
No, I mean, I think Webb hit the nail on the head on that one. So as he said, it's a slight variation from the first one, but yeah, again, the integration aspects of this is really what the important part is.
Okay. We now have some product demonstrations for you. We're going to begin with a demonstration of PlateSmart's integration with OrCID. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Webb, you should have the ability to share your screen when you are ready to do the demo.
Okay. Okay, I just put it on my screen on the share. Let me know if you can see them.
I can see it.
Okay. All right. So as everybody see that, this is a demonstration with integration in place between PlateSmart and OrCID. What we did is that, you know, per OrCID's requirement, that our application is being registered as an OrCID app and is accessible from OrCID's main menu. So the idea of that is, as I covered before, OrCID is that central piece of authority that monitors, records, maintains all records pertaining to this transaction, whether it's a POS or as a curbside pickup. So from that standpoint, the video side of the records versus the vehicle side of the records can all be viewed, managed, accessed from one interface, as you see here. So our interface lives inside of the OrCID. What I have here is a browser-based interface that we offer to the end user for information browsing, information retrieving, and searches. We have other interfaces more tailored for the administrators of the system to manage the system, such as adding the users, adding more cameras, adding more hot lists, things like that, or tweaking up the systems to make sure the system, can scale to some point. But this interface is for the end users. So as you see that from a usability standpoint, it provides the functionality for user to search for any vehicle-based records, as well as search for any alerts that's generated by running through these vehicle records with the registered hot list, we call them a watch list. Those are primarily for security needs. So for the drive-through situation, may not necessarily apply, but for the vehicle side, we've developed a very user-friendly interface to facilitate this everyday, search needs. So as you see that by leveraging the 4 data points, those are the vehicle make, color, state jurisdiction, and a license plate number, you are able to construct a very powerful and comprehensive search term, be able to quickly and no time to locate that vehicle of interest. So we have, our engine is capable of IDing all 50 states in terms of jurisdiction, as well as vehicle makes. Now, in this particular case, we have a whole list of the vehicles that you can pick from to put that as part of your search. And the color-wise, we have a whole list of the colors where you can mix and match. You can pick multiple colors to broaden your searches so that it makes the user experience super friendly. What I have here is that for each one of the search results, you can dive in even to examine the details of the records. So like here, if you click on that, and it will lead you to the detailed view of our record, where you can click on the images and the pan, you can zoom, you can examine the details so that anything help you to quickly quickly locate the vehicles or quickly to conduct the investigations, whatnot. So, and on the alert side, the search idea is very similar to the vehicle side of the search. You have an extensive search term. You can construct a very productive search criteria. But for every alert, if you have your email registered with the system, then you can get that real-time email alert from the system as well. So that's another nice feature to have. So this is an interface that we offer to the end user. For every, all the integrators would deal with end users. One of the questions they always ask is that how good is your ALPR engine? And how easy that is, I can stand up your system so that I can get the job done. So I'll cover that briefly here. So this is our software to do the ALPR. And as you see that the user experience is also very simple and actually pleasant. All you got to do is actually to ID where the camera is, such as what's the IP address of the camera, and how do I connect to the camera. If it's access camera, then we have a canned connection string that we can use. The system will recommend that, so that it makes life very easy to connect to the camera. From there, all you got to do is literally just flip on this power switch. Then the system will jump in, establish the connection, do the analysis, and extract those data points and send it off to the rest of the system or send off to the POS system. So it's that easy. And the accuracy of the engine is phenomenal. We consistently see from a license plate detection standpoint, the accuracy in the high 90s. It's very easy to see a 98%, 99% of accuracies. State recognition is also phenomenal. We consistently see from 95% going up for IDing the state. Make and the color also very nice. It's in the upper 90s as well. Now, those 4 data points are very important, especially in the POS business, because we talking about using the car in lieu of customer to ID the customer. So we want to make sure that the system, one, captured that vehicle information very accurately. Second, to be able to spot out any differences. If the tag is being copied or forfeited, and used in another vehicle, we want to be able to catch that discrepancies. So to fully leverage the entire 4 data points is very important in this particular application, and we can do that. The other thing I want to touch is that how easy that is to turn on and set up our ALPR operation. We've talked to our folks at the customer support department. They're literally talking about a couple minutes that you can stand up an ALPR if the camera is already there. The other nice thing is they see that if the camera end up being mounted at a suboptimal cases where it's looking at the plates at an extreme sharp angle, and in that case we also have softwares baked in that we can avoid dispatching a people going on site and climb the ladders and tweak the camera. We can sit back and utilize the software to overcome that situation. So what I can demonstrate here is that it's a very nice feature we call keystoning that we added to the software to help to deal with those kind of a sharp angle situation. As you see here, this is what all you need to do. You can sit back in your home for now and be able to just draw up this bounding box and then tell the software to take care of that sharp angle. So this is a huge plus from our product offering in terms of saving, in terms of avoiding another dispatch of the worker to the site. So what I try to stress is that accuracy of our engine is top notch, and the ease of installation, ease of use is right there. And we put a lot of thought behind this to make sure our user experience is really good. So I have that, I wrap up my demonstration.
Thanks very much, Webb. If you could turn off your screen sharing, what I'd like to do is now turn it over to Brad. Brad, you should be able to share your screen and begin your demo.
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that everyone on the call can see the IPConfigure Orchid Fusion interface.
I can,
and I'll go ahead and
so I'm going to assume you are right.
Perfect. All right. So as I kind of started off in the beginning of the call, I talked a little bit about IPConfigure. This is a live site. So as we kind of highlight different use cases that Webb has gone through, this is going to be a QSR. So this is actually a McDonald's owner-operator who's headquartered out of North Carolina. He has 10 or 11 sites on with IPConfigure, and he has them set up in a what we consider a hybrid cloud environment. And for IPConfigure, what that means is out at each of these sites for the customer, he is running a small, non-proprietary NVR server piece of hardware. And then on that, he has got our software installed. And at one of the locations, we will also talk about the PlateSmart that he has installed. And what happens is that all 10 of those sites then call home to our cloud. So the idea is we'd use a dedicated reverse proxy VPN connection. It calls home to the cloud. And then from anywhere in the world, as long as I have connection to the internet, I can go ahead and log in and be able to see all of those sites. So I'll go ahead and start from the beginning, kind of give you a quick highlight and overview of the software. This is what we call the stage. The idea here is you'd be able to see all of your sites listed out. And I can go ahead and click on any of these sites and, of course, see all the cameras at that site. So if I just start double clicking here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of cameras from a couple different sites. So now I've got 4 cameras from 4 different sites. Again, this is all live video coming from North Carolina via the cloud. And as I brought these cameras on, one of the things that's going to end up happening here is this bottom right-hand site has very, very poor bandwidth to the cloud. So some of our customers have, connections of about 156K to the cloud. And in that IPConfigure, to solve that problem, we built something called low bandwidth mode. So the idea is when I switch from the Rabbit over to the Turtle, the IPConfigure software will transcode to JPEG on the fly. And in that case, we're able to get video up no matter how small the bandwidth is or how little bandwidth there is. The idea here is we can take and move all these cameras around and resize and kind of build out the stage the way that I want to see it. And it really gives the user a lot of ability to have a user interface that's set up for them specifically. So now I have these 4 cameras out on the stage. Right now you can see we're in live video. Very easily I can scroll in down to seconds, and then of course all the way back out to minutes and hours. And then if I want to just take and rip this back in time, so I'm going to start playing back video from about 1:15 this afternoon, go ahead and do that. And all 4 of those cameras now are playing back simultaneously from about 1:15 this afternoon. And again, what I want to highlight here is, A, we're all in the browser. There is no client software that has to be installed. From a VMS perspective, we are doing full H.264 video decoding in the browser, but we're not using any sort of plugin as well. So as we talk about technology and some of the changes, one of the technologies that IPConfigure uses is something called WebRTC. And this is a browser standard today that allows for decoding of H.264 video. So for us, being completely browser-based gives a lot of flexibility, not just for video, but as you'll see here in a second, any analytics that are part of the product as well. So as we've talked about, the idea is, as customers have rules and requirements and new things have changed, they can go out and select analytics, so including PlateSmart or facial recognition or point of sale integration or access control integration. Any of those things then can be brought into the IPConfigure platform. And what we've done is we've built what's called an apps platform. And the idea is we have allowed third parties like PlateSmart to embed their interface inside of our browser-based UI. So again, here being a cloud installation, anywhere I have access to the cloud, I can log in, I can see all the live video, I can play everything back. But as Webb kind of showed a few minutes ago, if I click on this, you can see that I also have PlateSmart installed at one of the sites, and I can click on that and jump back over and install, and here we go, we can get into the PlateSmart specifically, that application there. So it does give a lot of flexibility in terms of the use and how you might be able to use this. The nice part about this too is everything I'm showing you here is the same thing you would get on a mobile device. So an iPhone, an iPad, an Android, a tablet. So it does give, again, the flexibility for the end user to really find what they're looking for. A couple other things I'd like to highlight too, the ability to unlink any one of these cameras, give it its own specific timeline bar. So if I wanted to be, looking at live video on all the cameras, I have 3 cameras on live, and then this particular camera here, I'm playing back from about 10 minutes ago. So again, a lot of flexibility to be able to see live video, playback, analytics, license plate recognition, so on and so forth, all from one single interface. Again, from the integration perspective, there's a second way that we can do an integration as well. So PlateSmart has used our apps platform. The other way that we can do integrations, we have something called an iframe player, where we actually can take and package up a single stream and send that out to a third party. So we've done that with a lot of access control companies and point of sale as well. And that does give them the flexibility to pull video in very easily to their interface. So IPConfigure, again, we are very open in terms of technologies. We really do like partnering with companies like PlateSmart, where we have the ability to work very closely together and kind of solve unique use cases and unique problems for customers. As I mentioned, IPConfigure, we are a US-based company. The way that we go through business, we do go through the channel. So for the integrators on the call here, we are set up through distribution. And then from a training perspective, one of the things I also like to highlight, if you go to our website at IPConfigure, under training, we do offer full online courses. These are all free, self-paced courses that allow you to go and get trained and up to speed on our product and how we work with technology companies like PlateSmart. And this is a great way to do that, particularly in kind of the world that we're in today. Everybody's at home. So from a training perspective, this makes things very, very easy for everyone. So again, that's kind of a highlight of the IPConfigure platform, particularly in the QSR world. So with that, I'll go ahead and send that back over to Art.
Thanks very much, Brad. Let me go back to sharing my screen. And with that, we have come to the end of our prepared remarks. What I'd like to do now is jump into some questions that we received, and I'm going to ask all of the presenters to jump in and address these. We have an attendee who is doing business in Guatemala, and he asked two questions. The first question is, how would the customer register his or her license plate with the credit card to be able to facilitate touchless payment? And then also, from a retail pickup perspective, is it possible to notify several stores in a given plaza or shopping center that a customer has arrived, I believe ostensibly to pick up multiple orders? So let me turn those two questions over to our presenters, and whichever one wants to jump in first, please do so.
Art, if I may, I'll take a whack at it. So these are very good questions. These all related to the integration with POS systems as well as integration with pickup systems. From a PlaceSmart standpoint, our primary responsibility in the whole operational process is the capture of the vehicle information and send that information to the system, to the POS system or the pickup system. Now, as far as how to onboard the customers or consumers' credit card information and get that linked up with the vehicle information, we have a pilot project going on. What we implemented is that there will be a dedicated website for people or for consumer to onboard their information, or they can onboard it right on the spot as they finish the first transaction, and then we can onboard them. So one way or the other, we'll onboard the customers in a very painless way, so that they will continue, from that point on, they'll enjoy this vehicle-based, purchasing experience. As far as the notifying customers, that is pretty much a functionality from the pickup system. Once they successfully identify a customer and at a site, whether they want to notify the employees at that location or they broadcast it to multiple locations or employee, him or herself, it's up to that system.
Brad, anything that you would like to add at all?
I think Webb kind of, explained it very well. I've started to see, particularly as a consumer myself, a lot of QSRs have it building their own apps for customers where you can do online ordering. So I guess to that question, this is where you're going to start to see people putting in their license plates and credit card information right from those customer-facing apps. And again, from an integration perspective, those kind of customer-facing apps are integrated with the point of sale, integrated with the video systems. And so as you do pull on and you kind of enter your information or whatever else, as Webb kind of mentions, you do that one time, your first order, whatever. And as you start to continue to, visit, all of that data is already there. And again, it does make it very easy. So I think that's kind of how I see these end users actually putting in that information in order to kind of move forward with this use case.
Yeah, one additional thing, if I may add, related to the POS system, there are a number of the POS solutions out there. So, right now this pilot has got us involved in one of them. But from our perspective, we always want to make sure that our architecture and our solution and our way of integrating the data on both ends are very easy to do, so that regardless what POS come into the picture, we can quickly get on speed in terms of integrating, understand, and get that project done. So if you have any POS systems or solution in mind or you deal with, and looking for this ALPR driven for touchless transaction and bring that over to us, we're pretty confident that with the solution in hand right now, our integration shouldn't take that long. So I just want to put it out there. Thank you.
Okay, we have another question. This one kind of concerns the ROI of such a system. Wondering if, and Kathleen, this might be something best for you to address, but beyond simply the security aspect of the implementing an ALPR solution, can you expand a little bit more on the ways in which it can, provide revenue or other ROI to a customer?
Yes, absolutely. So the ROI for a business, whether it's retail, whether it's restaurants, it's very important to be able to know who your customers are, right? So I think with the ability with PlateSmart and IPConfig, we are giving that information. So marketing, many of these organizations have different divisions. The marketing is going to want to know, where's my traffic coming from? Who are my customers? How can we help them? They can also look at, the drive-through lanes. How long is it taking for my customers to get through the drive-through lane? Because we know that if a customer is sitting in a drive-through lane over 90 seconds, that restaurant's losing business. So the more they can get customers in and out with a good customer experience, which with IPConfig and PlateSmart, we can offer that solution, the more money they're going to make for that restaurant because they're going to be moving cars through. They can look at areas for the loyalty program to send out, whether it's coupons or alerts saying, Taco Tuesdays through the drive-through, come through, and they can see what kind of business they're doing, and if they're marketing, if they need to go to a different area to market, they can go ahead and do that as well.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Question about cameras and cameras being used. I think this is really for both IPConfigure as well as PlateSmart. Are there any specific cameras that work best in this type of an application?
Yeah, let me take first at it. The camera-wise, we hate to say that our software work with any camera, but it is true. We work with any camera, but still, we still need to look into the project by project. But in this particular case, since the operating distance is really close, the vehicle travels at extremely low speed, and typically the site, if it's a drive-through, is well lit. So those three conditions add up. Literally, you can consider any camera. So that leave that to whether you already have existing relationship with a camera maker, say Axis, your Axis reseller, then go ahead and use them. They're great camera. Or if you're more, lean towards a more economical solution, then you can go take those camera as well. So as long as the camera, can give us a video over like H.264, which is almost 100% of the camera out there, and camera gave us the resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is 100% of the camera out there, and focus if it's built-in IR and whatnot, those type of things, which I see pretty much all cameras out there. So I have to say yes, we can work with all cameras.
Brad, anything you would like to add?
Yes, I mean, from a video perspective, we're kind of the same thing. One of the unique things about IPConfigure is we are not owned or beholden to any camera manufacturer. So IPConfigure, we support what's called OnVIF Profile S. So as long as the camera supports OnVIF Profile S, we can work with that camera, which is about, I'd say, 95% of the cameras in the industry today. If not, and there's some old legacy cameras that are that do not support OnVIF Profile S, we do support what's called the generic RTSP driver. So between those two, we have the ability to really and truly, connect to almost any camera out there in the industry today.
Thank you, Brad. One other question. Can the PlateSmart and Orchid software products live on the same hardware?
Yeah, the short answer is absolutely. As you recall from my demonstration, that's two products installed out of one virtual machine. So our baseline requirement for the computer box is that Intel CPU and Windows OS. So that not necessarily Windows OS, it's the browser based. So yeah, from a client and user side of the browsing, you can browse from anywhere, but our back end does require Windows OS. So from that standpoint, we do and we can live with OKit.
Well, we are running up near the end of our time today. So what I'd like to do before closing is ask if any of our presenters had any closing remarks they would like to say. I also would like to mention that I will be sharing a video of this webinar with all of our attendees. And before turning it over for any final remarks, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And thank you to our partners at IPConfigure for joining us on this webinar. With that, is there any closing remarks that any of the presenters would like to make?
From IPConfigure, I'd like to say thank you very much for having us as a part of this presentation. If anybody does need to get a hold of IPConfigure, we'll share our contact information. But the easiest way to get a hold of us would just be sales@ipconfigure.com. Send us whatever questions you have, and we would be happy to address those. So thank you, Webb, Kathleen, and Art for having us, and for everyone on the call. I hope everyone has a great afternoon and a great rest of the week.
And I too would like to say thank you, everybody, and we will keep everybody posted. I believe that we have email addresses for this webinar, so we will be sure to send out alerts and any news and products that will be coming out very shortly. And again, as Brad said, everybody keep safe, healthy, and we can all get through this. And I think with all of the solutions that are out there, we can bring great solutions to the problems that we're facing today.
Well, thank you, everyone. And again, we'll be in touch with a copy of this webinar. Thank you again for joining us.